Theories from all over the internet that's going to flip your perspective. Note, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's just start.
Once you hear this story, you will never question anything that happens in your life ever again. Please allow me to read. There once was a man who wanted to please the Creator as much as he could. He prayed day and night until finally, a voice spoke from the unseen spiritual world and said to him, "I want you to go and push a stone." The man woke up the next morning full of enthusiasm, ran out and found a huge boulder down the road from his home. Immediately, he began pushing it, but nothing happened. The next morning, he woke up and pushed the boulder again. Still, nothing happened. This man woke up every morning for 3 months straight and diligently pushed the boulder with all his might, yet nothing ever happened. With each failed attempt, the man became more upset by his inability to move the boulder even a single centimeter. Finally, when the 4th month arrived, the man said to himself, "The heck with this, that darn boulder isn't going anywhere, and I don't understand what this whole thing is about." Then the man had another dream in which he spoke to the voice from heaven, saying, "I don't know what you want from me. I tried everything you said, and nothing's happened." The Creator replied, "Why did you stop?" The man answered, "Because nothing happened." God said, "What do you mean nothing happened? Look at you. Look at how strong you are, how determined and focused you are. Look how powerful your muscles are. You are no longer the person you were when you started to push the stone. You have changed. That's what happened. And besides, I didn't tell you to move the stone. I told you to push the stone. I'll move the stone when it's time."
Interesting.
He doesn't really know how to read.
Who?
For real.
Yeah, and he loves to improv.
Yeah.
So during like the table read, he before we were gonna before he had to read each line, and he's the host, so he's at everything.
Yeah.
He would go, "I'm not gonna say this. I think I'm gonna say it the way I want to say it. Is that okay? Is that okay, Lauren? Is that everything? Is that all right?" And everybody's like, "What?" And then this is my favorite part is there was a sketch that we wrote where he's at Disneyland with his daughter, and the line is, "All right, let's get out of here. Turkey legs? Let's go get turkey legs." And he doesn't know how to read, so he went, "All right, let's get out of here, turkey legs." He called his daughter turkey legs.
Oh, okay.
All of my money was just stolen. Today
Phone
I was
scam.
the victim
Phone
of
fraud
phone
scam.
fraud. Somebody called saying that they were
Damn.
from my bank.
It happened to me a
fraudulent
couple of
my
times.
credit card.
Not a lot.
That there were fraudulent charges on my card. He
But I
asked me
think
if
last
I
year,
verified them,
December.
asked me if I did them, and I said no. And then he said, "Okay, I'm gonna cancel your card right away." So he went through the most recent ones and asked me is this legitimate? Is this legitimate? I was like, yes, like that I know. And he was somehow able to access my account, and he wiped my checking and my savings clean. Just be so careful when people call you.
Has Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, been lying about the fact that his wife, Brigitte Macron, was in fact born a man?
Yeah, I heard
Have they
this.
been terrorizing journalists who found these facts out over 20 years ago? To put this into perspective, I first heard that Brigitte Macron was in fact a man and Emmanuel Macron was in fact gay in 2019 from a trafficking survivor named Allie. You may have heard of her. Now, over 5 years later, Candace Owens is covering this story, and she is going to release it for all of the world to see, and nothing is going to stop her. They tried. They sent her a 100-page legal letter, and she was relentless, responded back, and then heard nothing from them, you guys. I cannot believe that this is actually about to happen. This Friday, Candace Owens is releasing the first part of her series, Becoming Brigitte. I don't know about you guys, but I'm putting it on my calendar. And to all of you new members of the Candace family who were brought in from the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds saga, just wait. Because if you think that she's vicious reporting on celebrities, you haven't seen anything yet. If you're going to go into any government around the world and you have something to hide, Candace, she's gonna find you. Put it on your calendar.
When women are influenced by a spirit of witchcraft or a Jezebel spirit, they are attracted to men of God, genuine men who follow God. For example, in Acts chapter 16, there was a slave girl with a spirit of divination. She followed Paul and his companions while they were spreading God's message. Paul and his team were truly anointed, and the demon in the girl recognized this and identified them. In verse 17, she said, "These men are servants of the Most High God, showing us the path to salvation." Even though God's word wasn't fully present in her because the Holy Spirit hadn't taught her, her statement was still true. So when a woman hasn't been born again and has a spirit of witchcraft, she can still recognize a man who belongs to God. Throughout my life, I've seen women deliberately target men of God for marriage. They present themselves as good Christian women, behaving properly, but once they marry these men or form unhealthy emotional bonds, they make the men's lives extremely difficult. These women are predators.
Okay.
This video is about providing men with God's guidelines to avoid them. The Jezebel spirit is assigned to harm men of God. In Revelation 2 verses 20
And do you know how
to 23,
Jezebel died?
Jesus
Was
warned
crazy.
the church of Thyatira not to accept Jezebel because she was a false prophetess. She led his followers into idol worship and sexual immorality. Being close to a Jezebel won't bring you nearer to God. You might feel closer to God because you need his help to deal with her constant attacks on your peace, but she is more likely to drive you away from God. As shown in the story of the slave girl, a witch can pretend to know God. A witch can act like a woman of God.
Okay.
And many women attend church, hold leadership roles, dress modestly, and are seen by God as witches. However, the Bible says in Matthew 7:20, "You will know them by their fruit." This means whether they show the qualities of the Holy Spirit listed in Galatians 5 verses 22 to 23, or the negative traits in verses 19 to 21. It didn't say you would recognize them by their words, appearance, or actions, but by their results.
Okay.
A witch can be physically attractive, feminine, and gentle. Proverbs 5 verses 3 to 4 says, "For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil, but in the end she is as bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged..."
The story I'm going to tell you,
Okay, this is the actual
it's stranger
story,
than
okay.
fiction, okay? It is my belief that the Macrones somehow became aware that we are just a couple of weeks away from releasing an explosive piece on Brigitte Macron. And I believe that this letter was sent to intimidate me. I don't believe that they intended to file anything. I could be wrong. My instinct here is that it was very much meant to terrify me because of an interview that I did, that they are worried that when I release is going to go global, because it will. The backstory of that is that during Thanksgiving week, at the end of November, I was contacted by a French reporter claiming to have a trove of evidence to support the claim that the First Lady of France lived as a man named Jean-Michel Trogneau before
Okay, so this
becoming
transgender
and
thing,
transitioning
you know,
to Brigitte.
It's making
This
it possible
evidence
for
was
us,
even
for them to get
complete
away with this.
names of doctors who worked on Brigitte, a theory with a lot of evidence as to who mothered the children, who gave birth to Brigitte's children. Because I took this individual to be extremely credible, I got on a plane and I flew to meet this journalist in Europe. Okay, we did an interview that went on for about 2 hours on camera, and I collected all of his evidence. And apparently, just 10 days after that initial correspondence between me and that journalist, Emmanuel and Brigitte had this letter written to me. It is dated December 3rd, so just 10 days. So that, to me, leads me to believe that somehow, and again, I have no evidence to support this claim, the communications of this journalist are being monitored. that they knew that he was flying to meet me, that they knew that we conducted the interview, and that they knew that I was in communication with him, telling him that the interview was due to release in 2 weeks, okay? They knew that it was coming out this month and that they scrambled to get this out, to beef up this letter as much as possible, running the risk that, okay, well, getting a letter from the president of France is a scary thing. You know how much power he has. She'll at least press pause and not release the conversation, hoping that I would just be scared into silence.
Everyone needs to know what is happening in the Congo.
Yeah, I also like to know.
Affects all of us. Okay, so here are the main characters you need to know about. Number one, you've got the DRC, the Democratic Republic of
it's
Congo.
inside
They are the
Congo.
second largest country in Africa. And you want to know something crazy? They are actually considered the richest country in the world in terms of wealth in natural resources. Not just in Africa, the entire world. They have a staggering $24 trillion worth of untapped natural resources.
Interesting.
So why the hell
24
do their
trillion.
streets look like this then? Well, let's go deeper. Second main character, you've got Rwanda. And in 1994, they experienced one of the worst
Genocide.
genocides in modern history, with 800,000 people being unalived. And this is where characters 3 and 4 come in, because that genocide came when two groups in Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis, went to war. Both these groups are native to Rwanda. The Tutsis are traditionally cattle herders and were the minority in the country with about 14% of the population. But despite this, they governed Rwanda at the time where Belgium was still in colonial control of the country. You see, the Belgians, they favored the Tutsis. They gave them power, education, and positions of privilege over the Hutus, despite the Hutus being the majority and making up about 85% of Rwanda's population. Now, eventually, the Hutus, they rebelled, and that led to Rwanda's independence from Belgium in 1962. But now that the roles were reversed and the Hutus were in charge, one of Africa's longest wars began, and it culminated in that genocide that I previously mentioned. Hutu extremists systematically ended the lives of between 800,000 and 1 million Tutsis, which is now globally recognized as a genocide. However, despite this, the Tutsis were still able to regain control of Rwanda, and a key detail is they still maintain that control till this day. Now, this is where character 1 comes back into the mix, the Congo, because during that 1994 genocide, many of those Hutu extremists fled into the Congo, which is also where many of them remain till this day. Now, that's a really important detail because since that genocide, the Tutsi Rwandan government has constantly invaded the Congo since then, using the justification that those Hutus who committed the genocide and then fled there, well, they are still a security threat and need to be eliminated. And now we are at the super controversial part that everyone argues about, because when Rwanda, or the rebel forces that they have backed, enter the Congo, well, they haven't just eliminated the Hutus like they said. Over the years, they've overthrown parts of the country's government, installed new presidents, and caused major political destabilization. And so many accuse Rwanda that their intentions are actually all about controlling Congo's resources. And that brings us to today and what's happening now. Because for months, one of the rebel forces, allegedly backed by Rwanda's government, M23, well, they are in the Congo right now, capturing towns and pushing deeper and deeper into the country. And why it's currently making headlines around the world is because that M23 rebel group, well, they just took control of Goma. That is the Congo's biggest city in the east, which is also the part of the country which is most rich in resources. And it's at this point where we introduce our even more controversial fifth character, the West, and many other countries outside of Africa. Because those resources, inhumanely and often illegally extracted from the Congo, well, they are bought and used by some of the brands we use every single day. Cell phones, electric cars, TVs, fridges, and I mean, the list goes on forever. Simply put, we in the West and much of the world, we would not function the same way without the resources from the Congo. And truthfully, there's a lot of interest to keep it that way. And that is where things get really insane. But this video is already too long for all of us who have brain rot. So I'm gonna make a part 2. Make sure you follow so you don't miss it. Hope that helps, and I'll see you soon.
I don't advise any guys to get married that are not 40. Like, if you're under 40, you have no business getting married. Like, the first 30 is you're learning, okay? That's the first 30. The second 30, you're earning. And the third 30 is you're giving back. You have no business getting married. You're not really a man yet. You haven't gone through enough heartache and pain to really learn from the experience to become a wiser person. Like, I didn't really start becoming a wiser person until I was in my 40s. I mean, I was successful in my 20s and my 30s, and then I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money and I did all the back and forth. I got divorced, all this stuff, but it was just because I wasn't a man yet. My professional career grew faster than I did personally. And I don't know if that's just a guy thing, but for me, things didn't really click until I was in my 40s. And when I was in my 40s, I'm like, I really then understood like who I was as a guy and was able to like figure things out. But like, I don't think that I would be the husband that I am now in my 20s and 30s. It would have been impossible. I have a real granular understanding now of my role and what my wife's job is. Like, my wife told me last night, she's like, I'm so glad I don't work. And I'm like, well, babe, you do work. Being my wife is a full-time job. Like, that's a job, because there's a lot of demands on things that you need to do for our house, for our family, for me to allow me to do what it is that I do. But I don't think I would have that level of wisdom at 20 or 30. I don't think most guys do. Do nothing except, if you're a guy, do nothing except make a ton of bread.
Tell you, over the past several months, the Lord said to me,
take that advice.
Time where I tell you, do not get on that plane. He said, when I tell you don't get on, do not get on. And so what he began to do with me, because we travel so much, he said, I want you to get in the habit of driving to where you go. Now, this was so far-fetched to me because I don't like road trips. And so over the past several months, almost everywhere that I have gone, it has been a road trip. I've been driving 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours all over the country. Probably drove by your neighborhood and you didn't even know it. Because the Lord said to me, I want you to get used to this, because there will be a season where literally, and I'm being careful again how we say this, but I have to tell you the truth, I saw planes begin to drop. And the Lord said again, if we will pray and put a hedge around this nation, we can stop the cyber attacks that the enemy wants to release. Now, he did say to me that there are some things that cannot be stopped. They can only be lessened. And so we must raise the level of our prayer, because if we don't have a prayer life, we're not going to make it. Y'all too quiet in this room for me. I said, if you don't have a prayer life, we're not gonna make it.
Everyone thinks artists like Katy Perry and The Weeknd just blew up overnight. But let's look at what actually happened before their big break. Katy Perry got dropped from 2 different record labels before she released I Kissed a Girl. But during those failure years, she wrote hundreds of songs and played hundreds of showcases, and she studied pop music structure obsessively. By the time I Kissed a Girl dropped, she had over 7 years of self-artist development that wasn't seen publicly. But the craziest story is The Weeknd. Before House of Balloons, he was homeless in Toronto, worked at American Apparel folding clothes, and got rejected by every major label. It took him 8 years to become an overnight success. All of these artists have had multiple major setbacks, years of development, and relentless output. The music industry wants you to believe in the overnight success because they want to sell you the dream. But real success isn't about one viral moment.
This is like 10,000 work hours.
No matter what's thrown at you.
It's around 8 to 10 years.
About God would literally be the highest form of attempting to riz a woman through spirituality. Here's what you have to understand. The reason why women gravitate towards things such as astrology, okay, or some kind of, zodiac signs and all this stuff, is deep down, they are looking for meaning. Okay, deep down, they are looking to be spiritually led. And this is something that most men don't understand, is she's looking for a man, okay, to hopefully help bring her closer to God, eventually, right? Sometimes that takes her in her later years before she wants to do that. But ultimately, look at it this way. Her fantasy is turning the bad boy good, but only good for her. So if you start off rough around the edges and you guys grow closer together, and she's being led the right way with her beliefs, morally, spiritually, everything, that is the highest form, okay, of actually doing what you need to be doing as a masculine man. So here's what I'm getting at, okay? The reason why women oftentimes will grab onto things like astrology or zodiac signs or all of that is because they are looking to be led on a spiritual level, okay? And oftentimes you as a man, you have to recognize this and you have to see this, because when she does not have a man in her life, it's almost like she's clinging to anything, right? This quote, okay? This affirmation, this zodiac sign, anything that makes her feel good, anything that fills her with some kind of belief. And sometimes those false beliefs lead her astray, which means at the end of the day, she's looking for a man always with correct guidance in order to help her grow at a higher level. Now, if you want to learn, understand, and master the language of women at an even deeper level, check out what I made for you. It's in my bio, it's in my description. It's a full-length, end-to-end process that any man can copy-paste into their dating life and start to get results. And I made it specifically for you.
Why is the Chinese running the planet right now? The Chinese is really the superpower of the planet. You know why? They're the most organized people.
True that.
And a lot of Chinese don't like Mao Zedong. And Mao Zedong did a lot of bad things. But let me tell you what Mao Zedong did do. When he took over China, China was considered a debtor nation. Nobody respected him. Nobody paid him no attention. When Mao Zedong went to Russia, Stalin wouldn't even shake his hand. He said, the Chinese are so beneath me, I'm not even going to shake their hand. What did Mao Zedong do? He went back to China. He said, oh yeah, the world mocks us now. They will need us later. Guess what he did? He started a cultural revolution, which he borrowed from the Honorable Marcus Garvey. He sold being Chinese back to the Chinese people. And then guess what he did? He sent Chinese youth all around the world to study what everybody else was doing and to learn how to make what they were making. And the genius of the Chinese Revolution lies in the fact that they didn't try to compete with the Americans, the French, the Belgians, the British. You know what they did? They said, we simply going to learn how they make what they make.
Go back home.
Go back home and make the best replica of it and sell the replica.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Chinese make everything. I was over there. Listen, when I was in the malls in China, this is the crazy thing about China. In America, if you want to buy some bootleg merchandise, you got to go to the back street, right? Mm-hmm. Guess where they sell it at in China? Right in a mall. Bro, they were selling fake Jordans in the mall. Beautiful mall. Like you go to a mall here, imagine walking to a mall in a store full of fake Jordans. A store full of fake True Religion. A store full of fake Ralph Lauren. I couldn't believe, in the open, no hiding. Because remember, they communists, so they don't believe in capitalism. So they don't respect it. They don't respect it at all. So in China, you can buy anything bootleg you want, made by the white man. They're going to sell it to you. In open air, no secret. So I ain't going to lie, I went crazy. I said, damn this, I'm taking some of this back to America. Yo, so, you know, it's all about organization. And Mao Zedong sent his youth around the world to learn what everybody else was making, and he decided that China was going to basically become the dollar store and the Walmart of the planet Earth. You know why the white man can't do nothing with the yellow man? The reason the Americans and the British and the French can't stop China, this is what China did. This was genius. Capitalism is all about doing what? Paying $1 for it, selling it for $1,000. Right?
Right.
Air Jordans cost about $7. We're gonna sell them for $250. That's capitalism. We're gonna make what, 100-fold profit, right? Mm-hmm. So the communists, the Chinaman said, you know what we're gonna do? We're not gonna compete with them. 2/3 of the world lives on less than $1 a day. 2/3 of the world live on less than they can't afford to buy all this. So why we want to make a car to compete with Mercedes? Why we want to make a sneaker to compete with Air Jordan? Most people around the world will never buy that. They can't afford it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make merchandise that the poor can buy. Mm-hmm. China caters to the poor. The problem with America can't get rid of China. How do you put somebody out of business who's underselling everything you produce? Mm-hmm. You see that? Right? You can't mess with them. Everybody buys from China. The whole Asia buy from China. Africa buy from China. The Caribbean buy from China. Central and South America buy from China. We buy from China. How you going to get rid of them? China has made themselves indispensable to the existence of the world. Cheap clothes, they sell it. Cheap food, they got it. The dollar store stuff. Where most of your dollar store stuff come from? China.
Made in China, yeah.
So how the hell are you going to get rid of China when China is taking care of the poor people who represent the majority of the earth? Check it out. Basically, the Chinese are saying to the white man, you made the world poor through capitalism. And I'm going to cater to the people you made poor so they never need you.
Falling from the sky. And the theories about why are endless. The Black Hawk crash in D.C. and the plane going down near Philly have the tinfoil hats on the internet out in full force, and some of these ideas are wilder than the crashes themselves. The wildest one? That a Black Hawk kamikazed a plane in DC to take someone out. Who? No one knows, but some claim it was a deep state operation. Then there's the bizarre Super Bowl connection. The plane that crashed in DC came from Wichita, Kansas. Yes, the Chiefs play in KC, Missouri, but close enough for theorists. Meanwhile, the Philly crash? Obvious Eagles link. So now people think the crashes were symbolic foreshadowing of the big game. But for what reason? And let's not forget the AI theory. Some believe artificial intelligence is quietly hijacking flight systems, leading to unexplained failures. Is ChatGPT flying planes now? No one can be certain, but the theories are incredible for entertainment purposes. Welcome to 2025.
Some people just aren't scared to go to hell. And as a Christian, I never understood that because I was always scared as hell to go to hell. But I'm not gonna lie, I thought about it and I understand why some people aren't scared to go to hell now. I think a lot of people aren't that scared of hell because, quite frankly, a lot of y'all think about hell wrong. You probably think about hell like it's a place, like it's a venue for you to go to if you didn't make it or something. Go down this rabbit hole with me. When you imagine hell, you probably imagine what? Some dark dungeonous place, some cave-like location with a bunch of fire and chains. Yeah, that sucks for sure, but like, that's just a place. There are people who are from horrible environments here on Earth. I wouldn't be too scared to go to another bad one. A lot of y'all think hell is this dark, fiery place, and sure, but hell is not as much a place as it is a state of being. Hell is the state of being away from God. Okay, so what if I'm away from God? Y'all don't know what God is. God is all things good, all the things. So the breath you take in and out, that's Yahweh. You're not with him no more, so imagine suffocating forever. God is the ultimate healer. So if you depart from that, hell is you in excruciating pain forever. God is the provider of rest. If he never knew you, that means you don't get none. So you're working and tormented forever. Y'all catch my drift? Don't think of hell so much as a place. Think of hell as a state of being without God, because that's what it is. If you think about hell like it's just a bad place, I totally understand not being too terrified of that. But that's not all it is. Hell is a state of being without God. And what is God? All things good. So what is hell? All things bad forever. And the wildest part is, that's not even the sole reason we follow God. Y'all have a blessed one. Adios.
I have a friend, and the conversations that we have are some of the most stimulating conversations I have ever. And I think a lot of the reason is because he asks such good questions. I love people who ask me questions that make me think, and questions that I can't answer immediately, that I have to take a moment for just to process and think about what they're actually asking. I love something that's going to stimulate me and really make me dig deep and think about what I'm going to say, and it's not just something that I can just spit out without thought. I really think that the questions that somebody asks gives you an insight into the things that they think about and also how they think about things. In a weird way, someone asking questions can teach you a lot about themselves, even though you're the one giving you the answers. That's how it makes sense in my head. We met in first year studying architecture. We connected over architecture, but also just in our interest in music, art, culture, literature, now philosophy, now that we've gotten older. And as we've grown and our own brains have developed, so have our interests, and we're constantly in conversation with each other, checking in on what we are working on, what we've been listening to, what we've been reading, the content that we've been consuming, the thoughts that we've been having, the personal growths that have happened for us both, and the conversations that I've had with him are so important to my own creativity and keeping that part of myself alive. I think that if you're a creative person, having those friends or those people in your life that you're in those conversations with, that you're constantly stimulating that part of your mind, even if you're not physically creating something at the time, but being in those conversations, being in the process of thinking, reading, consuming, seeing where your inspiration comes from, getting inspiration from each other, I think that's very important to keep that part of your brain alive and to keep that part of you stimulated. I think it's just as important as the actual act of creating. So I really do appreciate having someone in my life that I can tap into a part of myself with. I just love it because through understanding each other, I think we find understanding of ourselves, and I really do appreciate having somebody like that in my life.
In case you're wondering what it's like being transgender under this new administration, I just got my new passport in the mail and they changed the gender to male.
Obviously, you're a guy.
A trans social media influencer says she tried to renew her US passport with her updated gender marker before President Trump's executive order, which defines sex strictly as male or female, based on biological traits at birth.
I've put in so much time and effort into my personal
How can you change like this? This is weird. Like,
you know, it should be my right after everything I've been through to have
what
the
did you
gender
go
that
through?
I am now reflected on my documentation.
Persian submitted her documents, which she says identified her as female, but when she received her passport days later, her gender was marked male, the one she was assigned at birth.
It came with a letter as well that says that my sex was corrected based on previous records. It's really just like a punch in the face after, you know, all the work I've done and how much I've gone through already as a trans person just to feel normal in my body and everything. You know, at first I wanted to cry. It was like a feeling of numbness, but that's exactly what they want me to do. They want us to be scared and to crumble back in fear. Yeah, there's that big ugly M. It definitely puts me in danger when it comes to traveling abroad. There's so many countries where it's illegal to be trans completely. So having this on my passport now makes my options limited of where I can travel. Because when you look at someone like me and then you see that they sent me a passport that says male, it's just like, girl, it doesn't make sense.
CNN reached out to the State Department for comment on Zaya's case, and a spokesperson said it is the policy of the United States to acknowledge only two sexes, male and female, and they are not changeable. Persian says she is now being represented by the American Civil Liberties Union and is considering a lawsuit.
When you give a community of people the rights that they fought decades for, you can't just take that back and not expect a fight till the end. We've always been here, and we're damn sure not going anywhere anytime soon.
I caught a woman who I was in love with at the time texting another guy about sex that they had.
That'll break your heart, man.
Me that we was like going out her way to convince me that we was locked in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I lost my cool and I slapped her. What she did didn't make it the lowest point of my life, but it was like what I did to somebody that I cared about. I felt like very small. I felt embarrassed. I felt like I wanted to hide from myself. I talked down so much on men who hit women that it just made me feel a way about myself. And one thing I learned during that experience is that you can't talk down on a nigga for failing a test that you haven't taken. I know who I am in my situation. I don't know who I am in your situation. After that situation happened, I had the highest level of self-awareness that I ever had in my life. Like I saw myself very clearly, like the good, the bad, the ugly, not just what I want to present to other people or what I want to present on a podcast, on the internet, but I really...
This is real life lesson. When you're chasing success, when you're looking for food, when you're working hard, never ever forget who's watching you. Never forget to watch your back, because if you forget, this will happen to you. So no matter how hard you're working, no matter how hard you're chasing your success, never forget to watch your back, because a lot of enemies are watching your back, creeping behind you, waiting for that moment just to snatch you like a little guy. Never forget this. This is life. Trust me.
If Donald Trump can convince the Republican Congress to get rid of the income tax for a system of tariffs instead, ladies and gentlemen, the economy will absolutely explode like you have not seen since the Reagan years, maybe bigger. The explosion of capital and investment in the United States and the basically $30,000 or so raise a lot of people are going to get will absolutely blow our economy up like you've never seen before.
A bunch of people understand that there's no morality and they do whatever they have to do to win. Like everywhere I go, I'm always like, oh, I thought we were trying to be good. And everyone's like, no, we're not. Okay. I thought we were trying to be nice. I thought we were trying to have integrity and honor and honesty and friendship. Like I thought we were trying to be like a loving society. And with comedy, I'm like, wait, I thought we were all like true artists and we were trying to be like respectful of the art of comedy. Literally 90% of the comedians look back at me and they're like, no. Papa?
If you didn't brush your teeth this morning, nobody's gonna notice. But if you don't brush your teeth for 5 years, nobody's gonna want to be around you.
True that.
Everybody's gonna notice. You're probably gonna have like a heart disease or something. Exercise is the same thing. You're not gonna not brush your teeth for 5 years, so why are you acting like exercise and moving your body is optional? Exercise is literally the greatest thing you can do for your health, longevity, mental health, physical health, everything. Stop treating exercise like it's optional, like it's a chore, it's a privilege. It's something you should look forward to. Whatever way you want to move your body, it should be looked at as hygiene, as brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every day to keep your teeth healthy and to keep people from wanting to be around you. Exercise for the same reason. You want to keep yourself healthy, you want to be around other people, you want to be able to go do activities with other people, so go move your body.
Avoid envious and jealous people at absolutely all costs.
True
It
that.
will destroy relationships, businesses, and your overall well-being. The way to tell that someone is envious or jealous when they're around you is a few different key areas. As soon as you announce something or you accomplish something, their mood grows cold. They're constantly comparing themselves to you and other people. So like if you say that you did this much sales, they're immediately trying to say how much they did. Next is they constantly gossip and criticize others. If they're willing to comfortably talk bad about other people to you, they're probably willing to talk bad about you to other people as well. Look, really successful people have an absolute abundance mindset. They know that there's enough success for everyone, and they instead want to collaborate and learn from really happy, successful people. Invest your time into them, and if you don't have great people around you, walk alone for a period of time to then ultimately find those really good people.
True that. And we've come to the end of the videos. Very good videos, I must say. Very good videos, and it gave me a lot of information about what is going on in the world right now, and I feel grateful that we watched this video together. And we've come to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also share with your friends, and also click on the notification bell icon so that any video that I post, you will be the first to get it. Adios amigos, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.